judgment, just real talk. This is the Apology Accepted podcast. The views expressed on the Apology Accepted podcast are those of the host and guest and do not reflect the views of any affiliate organization or individual. The content is for informational and entertainment purposes only and should not be considered professional advice. For personal, legal, or emotional matters, please consult a qualified professional. By continuing to listen to this podcast, you acknowledge and accept this disclaimer. Hey friends, welcome back to another episode of the Apology Accepted podcast. I am your host, Latisha Monique, and I have a question for you guys. Have you ever felt like you've lost touch with the version of yourself that was confident, happy, and whole? In this episode of the Apology Accepted podcast, we dive deep into what it truly means to fall back in love with yourself. And what better month to do that? Of course, Women's History Month. So shout out to all of my queens out there that will catch the Apology Accepted podcast. This episode is for you. We'll explore the reasons we sometimes drift away from self-love, the signs that it is time to reconnect, and the practical steps to rebuild that relationship. From boosting confidence and setting healthy boundaries to practicing daily self-compassion, this episode is all about rediscovering the love, care, and appreciation you deserve. So, tune in for real talk, reflection, and actionable steps to help you embrace yourself fully, because the most important relationship you will ever have is the one with yourself. Now, the $1,000,000 question is, why do we fall out of love with ourselves? Do we even recognize when that takes place? Have we ever noticed that we are not loving ourselves correctly? Society often sets unrealistic expectations around beauty, success, and happiness. Social media comparisons can make us sometimes feel like we're not doing enough. Scrolling through Instagram and seeing people travel, get promotions, or look a certain way can make us sometimes feel inadequate, even though we do not see their struggle behind the scene. We don't see all of what they go through behind the scene. All we know is that we have come across this post and we seeing the traveling and we seeing the promotions and we seeing the flat stomach, big booty, big breasts, all of these things that we see on social media will sometimes have us feeling like, again, we're not doing enough, when in reality, we doing what we need to do in our lane for ourselves. And that's something that we have to remember, because looking at those things will have us talking negative to ourselves. That self-doubt, now all of a sudden all the past traumas come up and then that creates a whole nother barrier to self-love. If you are consistently telling yourself, I'm not good enough, you start believing it. If you keep scrolling through social medias and you like, you know what, I work every day and I'm clearing at least, 60,000, whatever, a year, and I still can't travel. I still can't go here or go there. I still haven't got a promotion at work. All of this stuff is self-doubt. You are talking negative to yourself when now you're going to start to believe what you say. Meaning, I'll never get a promotion. I'll never be able to travel like that. Who can travel twice in a month? I'll never be able to do that. Well, now all of your energy has shifted to the negative talk to yourself. And now you start believing what you're telling yourself only because what you see somebody else reality is. And we don't even know if that's their reality because again, we don't know anything that goes on behind the scenes. Prior to you posting, well, not you, but prior to someone posting their happiness, we don't know what they went through to get that smile. We have no idea. And of course, most people only post the greatness because who really posts the downfalls, the failures? And this is how we fall out of love with ourselves because now we have talked ourselves out of anything positive that we can do for ourselves, for our own self love, and that steady connection with ourselves. We have to recognize when it's time to reconnect. I'm going to share with you 3 signs that you've been neglecting self love. All right, number 1, you're constantly exhausted or emotionally drained. Number 2, you struggle to say no and overextend yourself all the time. And lastly, you feel unmotivated and disconnected from things that used to bring you joy. Can anyone relate to any of the 3? Let me go ahead and raise both of my hands because I can actually relate to all 3 because baby, there was a time. There was a time where I was just disconnected with myself and having to really do that self reconnection has a level of difficulty to it, especially if you were or are disconnected like I was. I was so disconnected with myself, I couldn't even think of things that I enjoy. I couldn't think of things that I wanted to do. Everything was just okay, well, whatever. Yeah, that's cool. I really couldn't articulate things that made me happy, brought me joy, things that I wanted to do. So going through that period of reconnecting is definitely something that no one could really help you with. I think I was looking for a lifeline and it wasn't any because it's all about you and your self-love and what brings you joy. So there is no lifeline for that. Duh. Then we get into the emotional and mental impact of all this self-love neglection, okay? Neglecting self-love can lead to burnout, anxiety, or depression. You may begin tolerating toxic relationships or mistreating yourself. Now, the example to that is accepting disrespect from others because you subconsciously believe you don't deserve better. Why? Because you have built up your whole mind to believe that you are not worth what you deserve because you might not measure up to some of these folks that we see when we be scrolling. Now, of course, I got an activity for you guys to do. So, I have 3 questions that I want you to, in your downtime or quiet time, I got 3 questions I want you to ask yourself. And these are self-reflection questions. All right. So, question number 1 is, when was the last time I did something just for myself? I'm going to repeat that. Question number 1. When was the last time I did something just for myself? Question number 2, how do I talk to myself in difficult situations? Again, question number 2, how do I talk to myself in difficult situations? All right, last question. Question number 3, do I set boundaries or allow people to take advantage of me? Question number 3 again, do I set boundaries or allow people to take advantage of me? I want you guys to openly and honestly answer those questions. And when you answer them, I want you to keep them in a place where you can refer back to and look at those answers again, because it's going to take more than just you listening to the Apology Accepted podcast to get this down. Because listening to the Apology Accepted podcast is just the first step. So now, after you finish listening, now you got work to do. And so now we're going to go into the practical steps to rebuild the relationship with yourself. Because these are habits that you have to do daily. Small daily habits. That's all you need to start. Something small. This does not have to be something that you have to overthink. Okay? So for an example, start the day with a positive affirmation. I am worthy. I am worthy of love and kindness. That was something so simple. Or, I shouldn't say or, and dedicate 10 minutes to something that makes you happy, whether that's reading, whether that's listening to your favorite artist, whether that is drawing or coloring. Do something that only you like. This is for you. This is for your reconnection to self-love. How about trying taking yourself on a date? If you can't do it once a week, okay, cool. Maybe twice a month. And when I say take yourself on a date, this does not, again, have to be something that you overthink. Okay? This does not even need to be something that you're spending hundreds of dollars on. This is something so simple as, you know what? For lunch, I am going to step away from my desk. Matter of fact, I am going to step away from the building and go and sit down and eat something that I enjoy. You'll be surprised how many people that I've actually heard say out their mouth, I don't want to eat by myself, or I can't eat by myself. Now, when we get to the point where we can't even tolerate ourselves, then that's a whole nother episode. So let me get back on track. So, the power of positive affirmation and self-compassion. Instead of saying, I always mess up, shift that to, I am learning and growing. Speak to yourself as you would to a close friend. Be kind, be forgiving to yourself. If you would tell your friend, if you and your friend having a conversation and your friend is telling you, you know what, I done went up for this position several times. I'm just, again, I have not gotten this position, and you know what, it is just over. I just need to deal with staying where I am. I'm never going to grow in this company. If you find yourself telling your friend, girl, don't give up. Maybe the next time, get a training and come back. You can do it. Don't give up. Never give up. Now, if that's something that we can tell someone else, we can definitely tell that to ourselves. Journaling might be easier for some of us because instead of verbalizing it using our words, we might want to write it down. And there's nothing wrong with journaling. Get you a notebook. Write all of your positive words down. Write how you want to speak to yourself, because now you can read it and you can go back and read it every day. several times a day if that's what you choose. Sometimes it's easier for some of us to write down our feelings versus verbalize our feelings, and that's totally okay. Now, here comes one of the ones that we have difficulty with, and that's setting boundaries. Setting boundaries as a form of self love. Some of us just don't understand how setting boundaries go hand in hand with self love. Why boundaries matter. That's always a question I hear. Well, what does boundaries have to do with self-love? What A have to do with B? Well, protecting your energy means being intentional about who and what you allow in your life. So, if you are allowing a lot of disrespect and just plain foolery in your life, then that plays a direct part on your self love, because we want to be nice to ourselves. We want to motivate ourselves and uplift ourselves. And so when we bring energy that does not match what our growth is or what we're trying to do, then Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Apology Accepted podcast. I hope today's conversation sparked some growth for you. Be sure to subscribe and share with others who might need this reminder too. Until next time, you all, remember, healing starts with a simple apology. Take care.